welcome into this edition of Inside Bronkbuster Athletics. I'm Mike Pilosof, the Sports Information Director at Garden City Community College. Special guest this week. I say he's special only because he went to the same college that I did. That's it. No other reason. Patrick Hiltz, who's the head volleyball coach, joins us this week. Patrick, how are you, sir? It's good to see your face.
Well, thank you. It's good to be seen. It's good to see you as well, and how I'm as well as I can be. You know, we're all just trying to figure out how to make it, and hopefully we can get back to normal pretty soon.
You know, it's amazing as I've been doing these department profiles on each one of our coaches and administrators, I've learned a thing or two, at least I pretend to learn. And one of the things I already knew about you is that, yes, you did go to UNLV, you lived in Vegas, which not a lot of people can say that with, at least in the general population of Garden City, that they lived in Las Vegas. Not that that makes us special by any means. But at one point, and not in Vegas, but on the West Coast, you were a bail bondsman, and you played for about 38 minutes in the World Series of Poker. That's great.
Yeah, I moved from Vegas back to Arizona and was living with a friend and kind of just restarting and honestly getting into my coaching career at that time. And, before you actually get into college coaching doesn't pay very well. And so I was doing whatever I could to make ends meet. And that included working as a bail bondsman in Arizona, which was a really eye-opening experience. I had worked as a school teacher working with ninth grade, and then turned around and worked with, I don't want to say they're criminals, because they weren't. They're a bunch of people that made poor decisions, and some of them made that decision over and over again. But eventually you get it figured out. So that was interesting. And then friends of mine, we like to play poker, and we came up with an idea that sent a couple of us to the World Series, and I ended up being the person that was able to go, and that was an experience too. I mean, when you think you're good at something, go try doing it with a bunch of people that are professionals at it, and you'll be humbled very quickly. And I certainly was. It was a little more than 38 minutes though. It was more like about 2.5 hours in a 2-day event, which is still nothing to be proud of. So, but it was fun. It was an experience.
Even if it was 38 minutes, it's still longer than I'd last, because I'm not a poker guy, but I wouldn't last very long. You've been busy, and most coaches have been, even with the shutdown and the lockdown and doing everything via Zoom. So I want to start with your recruiting class, because for people that haven't been following this volleyball program, it hasn't been very good the last couple of years. And it took you guys, I think, the 11th match last year. You'd lost your first 10, and you guys beat Butler. And that isn't a knock on you. That's just kind of where the volleyball program was, and that's what you inherited. So before I get into that aspect of it, your recruiting class this year, which for all accounts, if I was giving stars out, and who the heck am I, but it's 5 stars, and it's led by somebody that's right in our own backyard in Regan Carlin. And not to just single her out, I want you to go through and how proud you are of the work that you and your assistant coach have done in putting this recruiting class together.
Yeah, it's a nice class. And you mentioned that there were some struggles last year. We had to learn how to win. I mean, it was as simple as that. It wasn't about the talent necessarily that we had. It's they had to remember that they could win volleyball games, and what that felt like. And I knew once we broke through, we'd be okay. But I think the groundwork for this year's class was really laid in week 2 of me being here last year, in that I wanted to make sure that we had a relationship with the high school coaches in the area. And, it makes sense to start right there at Garden City High School. And so I went and I contacted Coach Bailey, and she invited me into her gym. And, I didn't do anything more than just stand there and watch. But I think being there, and I'm not going to put words in her mouth, but her comment was that it was nice to see somebody from Garden City Community College. And so me just being there, I think, laid the groundwork for the 4 kids that we got from Garden City High School. And each one of them is fantastic, in their own unique way. I mean, Regan's in the position where she gets all the attention. But I mean, you've got Kelby Richter and Remy Vargas and Allie Mang that all play an important role in this team sport, and I guarantee you, Regan doesn't get the numbers that she gets without Remy, and Remy can't put up the sets that she does without Kelby and Allie, and so it's a team game, and I think people forget that sometimes when you got somebody who is as good as Regan is. But I think moving forward with this class, that's what makes this class really interesting, is that we have good players at every position. So we're not going to necessarily need one person to stand out. We're going to be a unit and working in a system together. And I think that's what's going to make us strong. But yeah, I'm excited about the class. We got started early. Brittany got us a couple kids on the board right away. Some connections that she had from back home, and then I sent her out to Colorado to look at a player, and we ended up liking that player, and that player's coming to us as well. So, and even all the way down to recently getting Tori, and that was a commitment from a network, of friends of mine that I know, that this girl was looking and heard that we might be looking, and one thing led to another, and she's coming, and I think she's going to be great for us as well. So it really, recruiting is about relationships, and we had to build the relationship back up with Garden City High School in order for us to be in a position to even be considered by any of those kids. And if you don't do that, you're just not going to get them. And that was one of the things that Colin and I talked about on my interview when I was here, was that we got to mend those relationships. And we've got the girl from Dodge coming, I think for the same type of reason, is that I made a point of getting in touch with her coach and being out there and being visible. And you got to do that work. You got to be out there and grind. And I think the more the kids see you out there, the more they're going to say, okay, what's this person all about? What's their program all about? And am I interested? And I think really that's probably what happened, is they were interested in staying home, representing the region, representing Garden City. And I think that's going to make us good, is because they've got that pride in who they represent and who they are, and having that Garden City on their jersey.
Not to speak in platitudes, but you can go out and you can recruit the local high school and they not be very good. And when I say they, not the players, but the team. That's not the case here, because Garden City High School has been really good over the last, you can go 5, 6, 7 years. So never mind just the players that you pulled out of there, but you're pulling them from a winning program. And I understand the difference between high school volleyball, college volleyball, especially in the Jayhawk Conference. But just from a winning aspect, that you do have a winning program in your backyard. So how important was that, just that aspect of it, to not only mend fences, but you pulled really good players from a really good program?
Yeah, it's crucial. I mean, we want players that know how to win and are used to winning, and that makes that transition a little bit easier, because they're going to be challenged. They're going to be challenged physically. They're going to be challenged mentally, probably greater than they ever have before. And if we're not doing that, then it's one of two things, and probably a little bit of both. It's they come from a really, really good high school program if we're not challenging at the college level, or we're just not doing our job at the college level. And so it's going to be a challenge for them, but the fact that they have that pedigree of winning makes it easier. It's going to make it easier for them to push through some of those tough times, and that's what's going to make them even greater than they are now. Is that they're going to be able to push through because they're used to it. They've been pushed before, and they want that win. They know what it tastes like. And once you taste winning, you don't want to taste the other side of the coin. And so it's important that we have some kids that are winners, and they've got that winning attitude. And that's what makes it challenging too on the recruiting trail. Sometimes you get a fantastic athlete that's the best player on their team, and the team doesn't do very well because it is a team game. Well, now you've got to measure their competitiveness. You got to find a way to figure out, okay, we surround them with a little more talent. Just how good can they be? And that's the other aspect of the recruiting. And I think that's what we've got in some of these other players that may not have been on teams that had as much success as Garden City High School, but I still think there's some value to them if we surround them with players that are accustomed to winning. Maybe that comes out in them. So I can't wait to get them on the floor and see what do we really have as a group and as a unit.
Regan Carlin, for those that don't follow volleyball locally in Garden City, was one of the best volleyball players in the state. Adding somebody like her to what your vision is. And I know you have a vision. You're a detailed oriented type of coach, and maybe you have to be to be in your profession. And you're patient, which is why you lasted longer than most in the World Series of Poker. But because you landed her, what does she, just Regan, just talking about her, what does she bring to the table that for people that didn't get a chance to watch her in high school now get a chance to see?
I think it brings a level of legitimacy to the program is really what I mean. You bring in a player like that, your program must be doing something right. And as far as the X's and O's, we were already going to be better. I think we had improved every position, and we were already excited about what we had. To be able to bring somebody in that is capable of doing what Regan's capable of doing just adds to that excitement. It is really all it does. I don't know that it takes us from being a 7th place team like we were last year to a first place team, next year. I don't think that's the measure that we're going for here. I think really what it does is that it legitimizes what we've been doing and what we're trying to build, and puts us in position to be in the top 4 every year, which is always the goal. As far as my vision, I have a system in mind that I want to put into play that, if we can get it figured out, is going to make us very, very good. When you have a player like Regan that you can put into that system, it's just going to make her that much better. Because if things are run right, we won't need her to take 60 swings a night. She can be part of an offense, and that would make other parts of her game go through the roof. When we're talking about hitting percentages and effectiveness and different parts of that, I think she will become unstoppable in this system, because if people want to try and double up or triple up on her to stop her, we've got other people that are going to kill them. We'll put the ball away in another area. And so whereas maybe teams in the high school areas were able to really focus their entire game plan on let's stop her, and they didn't do a very good job because she's good, they won't be able to do that with us, because we've got enough talent around her that we don't have to just ride that shoulder the entire time. And I think, in all honesty, that might make it more fun for her. For me, I want her to really enjoy herself, being part of a team, still playing with her teammates, and kind of find herself again, so that we can improve certain aspects of her game that need to be improved, that her and I have talked about that need to be addressed, and get her confident and ready to go back to whatever is going to be the right fit for her when she leaves our program. And that's our goal for every single player on our team, is we want everybody to be able to achieve their goals, both academically and from a volleyball standpoint, get good enough to get to a level where you can feel challenged but still enjoy yourself. And so that's our goal for her. It's our goal for everybody. But adding her, obviously, it raises the stakes, if you will, because we do have a player that is capable of being first team all conference. Probably should be. We'll see how things play out. But as far as the X's and O's are concerned, I don't know that it changes anything. It puts somebody that's 6'1" in a certain position instead of somebody that is maybe 5'10", 5'9". So it gives us a little more height. But as far as the system we were going to run, it doesn't matter who's there. It's the system that's going to make the wins come. It's going to make the points happen. So it's just nice to have that type of a player for your program, because, like I said, it begins to legitimize what we're trying to do. If you think about it, like in free agency for basketball, Mike, maybe this is speak your language. There's certain teams that it's tough for them to get the high-notch free agents because nobody wants to go there. Once you get one, now maybe we can get another, and now we can get another. And it's the same idea here. When we're looking at transfers, anybody that's trying to come in and looking for a place to play, even for just a year, the fact that we have somebody of that caliber that said, hey, I want to go there, makes it a little bit easier for us to convince other high caliber D1 type transfers to come to us as well. And I know our football team, well, every football team in the Jayhawk Conference relies heavily on D1 kickbacks. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing the same thing if and when we have the opportunity. We've got a team full of freshmen next year. I think we're going to be fine. But I think that's really the big picture of what a player like Regan, no matter where she comes from, we've got a potential D1 player that wants to play at Garden City Community College. And that's the important part of it. The fact that she was playing across the street is pretty cool and is exciting for the community. But I mean, if it was a kid from Colorado or, Texas or something like that was going to a D1 out there, I would be just as excited. It's just because it's raising the level of the program.
The uncertainty, and I've talked to bunch of coaches, administrators, people at the higher levels now, the NJCAA, just about the uncertainty of where things are going and what do we do? And for volleyball, you're a fall sport. You guys normally start your season in August. In fact, you and soccer are the first ones to really get things going. So how have you handled the uncertainty? Because the NJCAA is not making their ruling on fall sports and whether they happen, whether they're delayed, whether they're canceled, who knows what's going to happen until June 15th. How have you as the coach of this program handled that uncertainty?
We're just, moving forward as if we're going to start on time. And if and when we need to make adjustments to that, we will. I think that's the only way you can handle it. It's until we know otherwise, we're moving forward as if everything is going to be on time. And so we're trying to finish up our recruiting class still. I mean, we've talked about the recruiting class being really good. We're still looking for 2 more players, and some of the people we've been talking to are really good players. Between you and me, which it's not going to be, but we were looking at a player and still trying to get a hold of her that we get her on that team. Regan Carlin is not necessarily the best player in the gym, and so that's exciting, and that's what we're trying to do as coaches. But really, we're just moving forward, and until we know otherwise, and we won't know anything until June 15th. So in all honesty, it's really almost a waste of time to do too much planning and organizing until June 15th. Because we could have everything ready to go, and then June 15th comes around, we got to change it all up again because of whatever decision is made. So, we're doing everything we can to be prepared to start on time, knowing that we may have to adjust what we're doing. Still meeting with the team via Zoom, keeping them as informed as possible, trying to keep them motivated to work out at home and get volleyball touches, and whether it's in their backyard or hitting the ball at their dad or whatever, do something. And so we've been communicating and trying to keep them active and moving and ready. But the reality is, like you said, we don't know. And the fact of the matter is, it's hard for me to really worry about it too much, because I still feel for the spring sports in the fact of how things happen for them, and the fact that we're talking about potentially even having a season. To me, I'm good with that. Let's as long as we're going to do something, I'm fine, because it was a brutal end to the spring sports season, and I wouldn't want that for any athlete or coach. It's tough to deal with. So the fact that we're going to know something ahead of time going into it is going to make it even a little better for us. But to have an abrupt end like we did in the spring that's awful. And it was hard for me to see that happen to friends of mine and to other student athletes. So we're just kind of riding the wave, if you will, and we'll see where we land. Probably June 15th is a big day, because hopefully we know something, and it's a little bit easier to plan when you finally have an answer. It's like dealing with an injury. It's like, I don't know what happened. Well, go figure out what happened before we worry about rehabbing something, because there's no point. Until we know what's going on, there's no sense in worrying. All you can do is plan for normal and adjust from there.
All right, I'll leave you on this. We've talked about this. When you took over this program, they were not in a good position. And after 10 matches, you're still looking for your first win last year, and you got that against Butler. And I've said on more than one occasion that you win that match. To me, that's almost bigger than winning the national championship. And people would say, well, that sounds just crazy. And I say, well, you've got to start somewhere. The start almost is better than the end. So I want you to talk about what that felt like. And when you took over this program, again, it wasn't in good shape, where you envision this program being.
I think I'll start with the end and move back. And my vision for this program is to be a contender every year. What does that look like? That's the top 4 regular season finish with a team that can compete for a region title and hopefully go to the national championships and compete there. But you got to get into the top 4 to get that home game and in the first round. I think that's important. And you've got, let's be honest, you've got a good team if you're finishing in the top 4 of the Jayhawk Conference. And we had our top team last year lost the national championship by 2 points, and for as far as we know, everything was done right by them, and we can't say that for the other team, but we've got to compete. And the first step in competing is knowing how to win. And so that match, I mean, look, Mike, we had at least 3 opportunities to win a match before that. We were in position, we had the opportunity, and we would just shoot ourselves in the foot. And I think that's where it became very clear. And I looked at Brittany at one point and said, we just got to learn how to win. We've got to get past it. Even in the Butler match, we're up 2-1, and it was 10-10, I think, in the 4th set. And I looked at Brittany and I said, we need about a 5-point run right here. Because I knew if it was close late in the 4th set, that there was a possibility that they would want to hold on to the win so bad that you change what you're doing. And we needed to be relaxed. We needed to just kind of be flowing, and that's how it ended up. It's funny because we did get a 5-point run from Katie McHugh right at that point, and it was, I think, Butler that panicked at that point instead of us. And so, if you had asked me who's going to be the first win, I would have never picked Butler out of the lineup because it was a fantastic team. They had beaten the number 6 team in the country about a week and a half before that. So it was a great win. I think the collective exhale that you could feel from all those girls, especially the sophomores, was very rewarding. I mean, imagine going to work every day, Mike, for a year and a half and being evaluated by your superiors 42 times, and 42 times getting a failing grade on that evaluation. That's tough. That is tough to swallow. And yet those girls continued to push forward and finally push through. Most people would have quit, and those girls didn't. And they stuck together. They stuck with each other. They put up with, a jerk of a coach coming in and trying to tell them how to do things. And, they believed it long enough to get a taste of winning. And I knew we'd win a few more once we got that first one, and we did. National championship, I get where you're coming from, but the coach in me says it was one game. It was an important game for that group of girls. And, I don't necessarily think that it's any more important than the next one that we're going to win. That's just my mindset, is that it's the next game. That's the most important game. But I understand where you're coming from in that we had to kind of cut ties with what was in order to be able to set sail for what's going to be. And I think that game severed those ties and allowed us to start moving in the right direction.
Well, it's good to see you. That's one. Always appreciate the time. And I'm looking forward to watching this team come hopefully in August.
Yes, me too.